The word forgiveness might sound vulgar to some people. I want it to be understood in marriage.
Yeah. So I think we have to start with an injustice gap. So any relationship, when there's been something difficult that's happened, something offensive maybe, that pain, defense, offense, there's an injustice gap. There's a lot of ways to handle that. Sometimes you find out that you completely misunderstood the situation, and it truly is a misunderstanding. And there wasn't an injustice gap. The person never even said that thing or did that thing. You just misunderstood it. And then the injustice gap goes away. Sometimes you get revenge. That happens in marriages, right? Like, it's real. You went and spent a bunch of money. I'm going to go and spend a bunch of money. And we both are having money problems now, right? But revenge happens. That's another way. But the injustice gap goes down. You can have forbearance, right? So forbearance is a long-standing tradition, and it's more in Eastern cultures. But you can have just you did something unkind, offensive, but I'm just going to just let it go. And I don't go through a whole forgiveness process. I just
nothing I can do about it. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Yeah, let's move forward, right? You can give it to God, right? You can say, well, I'm offended, but I'm going to give this to God. Let God handle it. God, work with this person. I'm out. I'm not going to deal with you right now. You can forget it. So if you've been married for a while, you've been offended probably thousands of times, right? And do you remember all of them? No. You don't remember them all. You just forget. So the injustice gap, particularly if it's a small one, it can kind of just, over time, it goes away. The final one that you can do to deal with that injustice gap is to go through a forgiveness process. And that is a very Christian way to handle an injustice gap. Forbearance is as well. There are other things. Forgetting is good. All of those are good. Revenge may not fit in the Christian mind in general, but that can be another way to handle it. So there are a lot of Christian teachings, and right in the middle of our text for this is Colossians 3:13, which says to bear with one another and forgive one another. Right? That's right in the middle of Colossians, and forgive as God forgave you. So it's a reminder that this vertical relationship is the inspiration. Right? God forgave us. We extend forgiveness to other people. But one of the difficult things is how. I hear this all the time from clients or friends even, Sunday school classes I teach, things like that. I want to forgive. I really do. I recognize that God forgave me. I want to forgive my spouse. I want to forgive this person. How do I do it? Right? So I think for that, we have some good things from psychology that have helped us. We've just studied thousands and thousands of people who've forgiven and found some ingredients. I think I want to share a few ingredients.
Okay.
So one is confession. So particularly in a two-way relationship like a marriage, right? So sometimes you have to forgive someone and they're not here anymore, they're not alive, you can't access them, or they robbed your house and you don't know who they are, and they can't confess. But in a marriage relationship, one of the best predictors of forgiveness is confession. So being able to give confession, having a regular confession with each other is important. And being able to say, I know I was grumpy, I'm sorry, right? I know I spent money, I said I wasn't going to, and I did it anyway, and I am sorry, right? Heartfelt confessions are one of the best predictors of forgiveness. And so it's a two-way street in a marriage relationship especially. Right? A second one is time. Everyone who's been through harsh injustice gaps knows if you have a big injustice gap, right? If I go and I gamble the family savings away and we no longer have a retirement account, right? Because I have spent it all. It is gone. That's a giant injustice gap, right? With big consequences. It is going to take time to be able to reduce that injustice gap, right? Over time. And I can do things to help. I can say, hey, I'm going to clean the toilets for us every day, and I'm going to go out and get an extra job to try to make up for the money I lost, and I'm going to Gamblers Anonymous to prevent that from happening again. I can do things that can show you that I'm sincere in my apology, right? And in my desire to reduce that injustice gap. But it may take time for you to forgive me still, even then. Or you may be able to decide to forgive me right then and say, okay, I choose to be in forgiveness. I choose to not seek revenge. But emotionally, I am in a lot of pain from this. It hurts. And it's going to take me some time to get over that hurt and to get past it. Yeah. So confession and time are two of the things. And then finally, empathy. There's this pastor named Larry Christensen. And he's been around a long time. And he taught a sermon that has changed my life and the life of many people. And it's on the concept of empathic repentance. Empathic repentance teaches this. When you do something that annoys me, right? If we're in a relationship and you do something that annoys me, empathic repentance teaches I'm to stop and I'm to pray to God, Lord, please forgive me for the times in which I have done that thing, right? Particularly when it's an ongoing annoyance, right? So, for instance, I'm a messy person and I leave things out all the time. It's annoying for my husband. So if he did empathic repentance, he would say, Lord, forgive me for the times that I am messy, right? And you focus on the repentance of your own way of being, of that offense that you do sometimes, and you put your attention there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fascinating. So, okay, let's imagine, it's clearly not true, but let's imagine in the scenario of you being messy, and I'm married to you. So you're messy, and I am obsessively compulsed to be perfectly clean all the. I'm the irritating clean person.
And we stupidly decide to marry.
We're married to we're married to one another, and so and I say honestly, legitimately, I am never messy.
And it may be true.
And yes, like let's say that's true. Like that's something that I never. You'll never find a hair from my head in the shower tray. They're like, yeah, I can tell why. But that I never leave crumbs.
Yeah.
But now, so what?
I never did that thing.
I think in this empathic or confession still applies to me. What does it look like for me?
Yeah. So I think you have to go a layer deeper. Yeah. And look a little and say, well, you never leave your clothes on the floor.
Yeah.
In what way do you make the other person's life difficult?
Yeah. By being arrogant and by reminding you what a slob you are and how good I am and what a privilege it is to be married to me.
Right. But you spend so much time making your shoes shine that you don't talk to me. Right. Whatever it might be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good.
So then that's you ask God to bring that to mind. Right, as a practice, as a spiritual practice on an everyday basis, you think, okay, this can be a spouse, this could be other people in your life too. These people annoy me, they're difficult, they've offended me, they've harmed me in some way. Lord, in what way have I done something similar to them or to others, right? And you ask God to forgive you for doing that. And it is transformational and being able to move that injustice gap because you get a proper, humble perspective on your own capability to be offensive and to wrong others. And you're working collaboratively with God, and you're having God work with you on your own mindset, right? And to be able to reduce that injustice gap and bring you closer together, closer to forgiveness. It still may take time. There still may be emotional hurts that pop up again in the future. You may have forgiven, and then you feel tired, and you feel hurt again in the future. That's normal, right? Everyone does that. But you can return again and say, okay, Lord, in what way have I done things like this? In what way have I offended? Please forgive my offenses. Right? And then I'm in the mindset to be able to relate to you.
There's something really rich in what you're saying because in the psychology literature around forgiveness, almost all of our research is on the person that has been stung.
Yeah.
So, like forgiveness research is what do I do with you who have hurt me? And very little research is on what do you do as the hurter?
As a person who's hurt.
It kind of probably thinks, most of our researchers probably think, well, I've been hurt many more times than I have ever hurt anyone else. I'm the victim. So
we're all above average.
I want to study how people have hurt me.
Yeah.
And what I should do to be noble and
and forgive.
bigger than they are.
Yeah.
But the truth is, in the exchange of life, there is just as many hurters are out there as they are people who have been hurt.
Right.
And they're the same people.
Right.
So what you're really saying is this empathic confession is about forgiveness from the perspective of when I am a cause of someone else's pain.
Right. And to recognize that and to keep that in front of us in the midst of dealing with your offenses.
With how I have been offended,
Mm-hmm.
to still see me as an offender at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I'm an offender. We are both offenders.
But now how do you manage then in the psychology research and as a therapist, like when all of our hurts are not the same? Like if you had an affair,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sloppy.
Right.
But I leave the towels on the floor. Help me there.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the most difficult, the most painful, and somewhat traumatic offense that can happen. And so
maybe I shouldn't have used
counseling
the affair,
would be good.
The affair piece as the example.
But if you spend a lot of money that we agreed you wouldn't spend, and it was a lot, like we're going to not be able to go on Christmas vacation now because you did that, right? Like, so it's a big deal. And I didn't do that. You did that, right? I think there's still, the Christian calling is a hard calling, and because it's always saying, I am yet an offender, even though you carry a heavier offense right now, right? Life is long, right? And there are ways to work through, and by having that empathic repentance, it opens up empathy for me to be able to look at, hey, you spent all this money, or you were flirting with someone online to get into that infidelity side or something, and I can have a little more empathy for you. But that takes time, and it takes work, and it is a lengthy process sometimes to be able to go through and emotionally put that behind you. But that empathic repentance is the beginning of being able to empathize with you, that you are an offender too. And it was real. You really did spend all that money. You really did flirt with that person, whatever happened. So we're not going to say it didn't happen. It did. But I can have some empathy for you. And that's a key. Those are ingredients towards forgiveness. And if people are feeling stuck with that, a good counselor can help. You know, if there's major offenses like infidelity, a good counselor, some good spiritual direction or counselor or combination can really be helpful to kind of navigate through that week after week after week that, you know, a 10-minute video won't be able to do.
Yeah. What might you say at the end of this 10-minute video for couples who, look, what are the first steps to becoming good at forgiving?
Being a good confessor is one of the first steps. I just encourage, if you're early in your marriage or you're in an okay place, like you got the everyday problems, you're not dealing with a major offense, and you're wanting to be a more forgiving person, confess. Confess to your spouse regularly. And I think you will find it. Forgiveness comes natural.
Yeah.
More naturally.
Confess rather than cover.
Confess rather than cover. I love that.